Yes, we are back. And we are so back. Outlast, Chappell. Season 2.
Yes.
This snuck up on us.
Finally. I don't know. Listen, we talked about Outlast season 1, and I think we were pleasantly surprised with what we got in front of us. And so I'm very happy. I don't even think I knew there was going to be an Outlast season 2, but now that we got it, I'm so glad we talked about it.
Yeah, I watched it this morning. We're going to talk about just the premiere, so we cannot spoil that much for you, and talk about a new cast of characters. I feel like, when did we talk about Outlast 1?
So
I feel like it was the spring of last year.
I believe so, around March.
I can tell you Survivor 44 was on, I believe.
Yeah, it was March 12th, I think, is when we dropped the episode of Nothing But Netflix for Outlast Part 1. Then we did a full series recap on March
2023.
19th. Yeah. 2023, yes. And then on top of all of that, we did a deep dive with one of the standout characters, Jill Ashlock, at the end of March. So we really had a March dedicated to Outlast last time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So Outlast is back, season 2. They got some more people. I feel like the first episode of the Outlast 1, I thought we lost like 5 people in the first episode.
You know, I honestly don't remember it that well. I know that I think that the show really wanted us to understand that anybody can go at any time, right? Because here our format is you have to make it to the end as part of a team, but you can quit whenever you want. All you got to do is shoot off that flare gun. And so, yeah, I think you're right. I think we lost a few people, but this time around, people know what they're getting themselves into. Mm-hmm. It's like the second season of any of these competition reality shows. The first year is kind of like a rough draft. Now we're in the thick of it.
They've seen it. They know what to do. I think people were like drinking the dirty water. It was the whole thing in the first episode. Maybe it was by the second episode. There was a ton of people that were gone. But here, everybody gets through unscathed in episode number 1. And we'll talk about what we saw. A very exciting cliffhanger. I was very tempted to just hit play, go into the next one. I knew we were recording today. So I'm like, all right. No, I can't do that to Chappell. I can't start the next episode.
Yeah, please don't, because I only watched episode 1 because I know we're going to talk about the rest of the season. But I too wanted to kind of go on to the next thing, because last season, in season 1, we got Jill, who was our standout because she was willing to do things that everybody else was not willing to do. She got an edit that really portrayed her as a villain and showed that, okay, maybe this woman is cutthroat. She's here to play the game, and she doesn't care who she's going to stomp all over. Now, after talking to Jill, I do understand her strategy a lot more, and I think that other people are going to look at the game she played in season 1, despite not being successful all the time, and know that some things aren't off limits, and you can try different things to further your cause here. And we see that straight out of the gate with this one and some of our new standout characters.
Okay, so 1 week from now, we are going to get back together and we're going to talk about the entire season of Outlast. So there are 6 episodes in this first drop. So we're just going to be here for this one and then try to come back after the last 2 drop and talk about the entire season. So we're here at the beginning, and then we'll come back next week and talk about the entire series if you want to get started, so you can meet us at the finish line.
Yes, and this is the second time that I've got to talk about Alaskan wilderness this summer. The first time being that Josh and I talked about the Hungry Games.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Alaska's a Big Bear challenge. And now we get to talk about the people from Outlast, who it's similar to the Hungry Games, except it might be a little bit more cutthroat.
Yeah, there's like some grizzly bear types.
Some grizzlies for sure. Don't know about any bears specifically. I haven't asked how they identified yet, but yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So, Chappell, can you explain the rules of Outlast in a little bit more detail?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the fun thing about Outlast, is that seemingly there's not a lot of rules. We're dropping 16 people out into the wilderness. We give them supplies and we say, hey, you now just outlast each other. The only way you can win is by being a part of a team, and you can quit whenever you're ready. As long as you can shoot off one of those flare guns, we'll come pick you up. And so one thing we learned with Jill and her partner last season is that, it could be a team of 2, but it can't be a team of one. So as long as there's at least 2 people ready to compete, you can go to the finish line and split the money with your entire team. Now, does it benefit you to have a smaller team? Maybe, but it just depends on how everybody's strategy pans out.
Yeah. And this show, while there is no game proper, like I guess the game is like really like a test of wills, and then there is a bit of like, okay, a final relay race at the end of this thing. I don't know if relay race is like basically me get to a certain point for all the teams that are remaining, if they are teams that are remaining. So there is no strategy in terms of like how do you eliminate people. You just, as the name states, you have to outlast them, and you have to just be there, and by hook or by crook.
Yeah, it can happen. I think that we saw them say, what, you got to out hunt, outsmart, and out strategize. Very different than the mantra we normally live by in the survivor world, but outlasting is the goal. And so like you said, by hook or by crook, you can get you can try to play this the nice way and everybody be a little kumbaya about their camp life, or you can get dirty and get cutthroat and maybe try to sway the odds in your favor a little bit more. Honestly, for this game to be as primitive as it is, Rob, I really like this show.
Yeah. This was exciting, especially by the end. It got real good because I think that the show goes to another level when people start behaving badly.
When people start being nice and start being real, like that's how it felt.
Stop being polite, for sure. Now, Chappell, do you remember any of the shenanigans that happened in season 1 of Outlast?
Not really. I think Jill gets off to a bad start because I think she steals somebody's tarp or something like that. It was something.
I think it was a sleeping bag.
Yeah, it was something very small. Like in the moment, I think we were all aghast because there were so many people like, why would you do that? Oh my God, these people are going to die out there. It's just a sleeping bag. Like no one's going to die because they don't have a sleeping bag.
Yeah.
So I think that,
was there Javier? Javier was, yes.
Javier was,
and I believe there was a threat that they were going to burn the camp down while Javier was in there.
Yeah, they said it as a joke. But, again, us viewers at home who had never seen the show before, like, oh, well, what if she does it? She's a murderer. Like, they aren't going to let her burn a camp down while this man is there. So I think it was way more scandalous. It was way more scandalous to talk about those things and to assume someone would do those things in the game. This time around, we've seen what works. We've seen what doesn't work. And now I'm expecting everybody to come in and know that, you could be a little underhanded in playing Outlast as long as you don't hurt nobody. I think everything's on the table.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about some of the changes that we got here in Outlast Season 2. Now, I don't remember this from Outlast Season 1. Was there a draft last year, Chappell?
I believe so. I think that they had to pick teams last time. I don't know if they... I highly doubt they just divvied them up themselves. I mean, they could have.
From my very vague recollection, I feel like that they just divided themselves into teams.
Really?
Does that sound right?
This time they do have a draft, and I think it makes it way more interesting than the alternative for sure, right? Where people have to go in and sell their skill set and say, well, this is why you should pick me. And I also think from a show standpoint, it was a good way to learn who the people were very quickly. It's almost like we got a little blurb about each of them as they were being selected.
Yeah. So... yeah, we got to meet a bunch of people in the 4 different teams: Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. I guess let's talk about the 4 teams we have this time, and then some of the standouts from the cast. So we got the Alpha team. Okay, Zach. Zach is the leader of the Alpha team. I can bring these people up here on the video so you can see who we're talking about. Zach was a former MMA fighter.
Okay. Zach is like, I'm a leader and I'm gonna be a leader. Watch. I think he's actually even said that he has been to Alaska before, so that's fun. But you're right. I just checked. You're right. They did divvy themselves up kind of like just like organically. Like, oh, you 4 come with me, you 3 come with me. It wasn't a draft per se. I think I like this a little bit better still though.
Yeah, this was pretty good. Okay.
Well, you get to pick people based on their skills and not just eyeball them,
Yeah. All right. So here's Zach, and Zach is a hunter.
Yes,
Allegedly.
a hunter, a fighter, and a leader. And Zach very quickly is letting us know that like he really doesn't have much strategy. He just know he needs the guy from Idaho with him. And so once he's able to accomplish that goal, he doesn't really have a lot of plans.
Okay, on Zach's team, I believe that does he go with the number 1 pick overall for Bio?
Bio, straight out the gate, yeah. And Bio will be our standout in this episode for sure. Grizzled is a great way of describing him, but also he's got some of that cutthroat attitude that Jill had last season too. Because we will see he's the first person to do something underhanded in the game when he goes over and he confiscates a few items from the other's camp.
Yes. Okay. So it's so out of nowhere, Chappell. So, Bio, that he is like, we're sort of like getting like from his perspective of like this guy, Zach, he says he's a hunter. Does he even know how to hunt? And I believe that Bio is a trapper, right?
Yeah. Oh, big trapper. He says it several times over. Like I'm big trapping Bio. I was like, okay, I like this. And Bio even has some hunting skills too that we find out. But yeah, he really wears being a trapper as a badge of honor. And I appreciate that. Like many of my favorite rappers.
Yeah. So here he is, and he is this is Bio. He is tired of not having food. He says, give me that bow and arrow. I'm going out there. He shoots a squirrel with a bow and arrow, no small feat. And it's like, oh my God. I'm like, this is the guy. This is the guy. Bio. Like, winner at it. He's got this.
But I think there's something to say about a social game in this game as well. We saw that Jill was very similar last season. She was taking the bull by its horns a lot of times, but socially, she didn't end up in a great spot. And trying to do that final race that you talked about, that hike for all those miles with a smaller team might be difficult because you need the support of other people. And so I could see Bio really isolating himself away from his teammates later on and ended up in a situation where he needs somebody who's willing to play along with him. And I think he made plenty of enemies in this episode.
Yeah. Well, okay. So like, I'm like, okay, Bio's the guy. Zach is an idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing. Everybody needs to follow what Bio is doing. And Zach is like, hey, we share a beach with Delta Camp, and we should go visit them. We should go say hi to them. And Bio's like, you idiot, you moron. What are you doing? He's like, well, if they're good, I want to have an alliance with them. I want to have allies. And like, okay, fine.
Yeah. Bio doesn't need allies. He says, what do I need allies for when I can make enemies? And so he immediately goes over and does, like I said, the most underhanded thing we see in the first episode so far.
Okay, so according to Zach, they go over to the next camp. There's 2 camps on one side of the river, and they're like, hey, just want to say hi. We live next door. We're your neighbors. We're just here. Like, we brought you a squirrel's head.
Yeah, they came with a gift.
It sometimes could be considered a threat. Oh,
I think every time. I think if you wake up with a squirrel's head in your bed, you have to assume that somebody's coming for you.
Also, they bring you like, hey, here are some mushrooms also that I do not think I would eat anything that the other teams brought me. Like, I feel like this is like, I need a food taster here.
See, I hadn't even thought about that because I'm more like a Zach type, I guess, where I'm thinking, we're just playing nice. We brought you some food. Let's make an alliance. But you're right. And honestly, I shouldn't have put this past you anyway. I've seen how you play Survivor. People some people are a little bit more cutthroat. Some people came out here to camp. Some people came out here to win, and a little dysentery ain't never,
right. I mean, it's like, and it's such a plausible deniability thing of like, oh my God, you got sick from the mushrooms? Oh my God. Wow, like, I didn't even know. Like, that's crazy.
We ate those same mushrooms in reality.
We ate the same ones. We were fine.
Yeah. We were fine. Must be the water. You guess you might have came across something. I mean, it's a good way to sabotage somebody for sure. I wasn't thinking along those lines, but I'm sure Bio might have been.
Yeah. Well, okay. Now freaking Bio. That they're in the middle of like having like a conversation, and Delta team is like, oh, here, let's show you around. And then he picks up their water cans, and then he's just like, I'm leaving. That's it.
Yeah. Confiscated.
They're mine now.
My germs. No backsies. And they're like, wait, What are you doing? Like, he doesn't do this in secret. They're talking in a circle, and he just like walks through them, like, just kind of shopping, like Sandra from Survivor Pearl Islands, like, oh, okay, well, I guess I could take this and this. They said, where are you going with that? Are you just taking our stuff? Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Do something about it.
Now, Chappell, are there rules, do you think, and they didn't really outline this, like not that anybody should mess with Bio, but say like the entire Delta team was like, let's get him. Like,
oh yeah, 1,000%.
Could they 1,000% they would be out of the game if they did that.
It would be against the rules for sure. Now, I don't think I would be mad at them if they did it, because at some point you got to be able to protect your stuff. Like, what do you just like?
My
please
stuff.
don't take from me. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? At some point it will get physical. If I have to grab something from you and you're grabbing something from me and we're both pulling on the same thing, it's not going to be
like Amanda and Danielle DiLorenzo.
And then I'll tell the story later on, like I snatched it from her hands, and take that, Amanda. That's exactly how it could be. And I think that production's like, you can't touch anybody. They're like the loss prevention people at a store. Like, you can make a lot of noise, you can call for the police and stuff like that, but you're a Walmart door greeter. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get out of control.
Could you wrestle the thing back from Bio? Like, is there no sort of like?
I think you have to be able to be allowed to grab it at least. You know what I'm saying? Like, you probably can't physically grab Bio, but if you could get a hand on that can and then it's just a tug of war, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah. He says, what are you gonna do about it? I got your stuff.
Yeah. Bye Bio.
Yeah. And that's the cliffhanger that ultimately ends episode 1. And I do not think we got these types of shenanigans this early out in Outlast season 1.
No. People were not having what Jill was putting down with her little shenanigans here and there. This was blatant. This was walk over in your face, take something from you, and dare you to take it back from me. A little bit of a bully, Bio, a little bit of a bully move, but he was bold about it. And I think that if you're going to be bold, we can equally be bold. And now you might have just started something that you might not have wanted to start.
Yeah.
Because it's all of us versus Bio as far as I'm concerned. I'm about to go get some allies.
Well, there's also Zach from the Alpha team. It's like, I didn't know he was going to do this. Like, this is idiotic.
Right. So if Alpha team gets up in the middle of the night, packs up their stuff and leaves Bio sitting there, what is he to do? He don't have a team at that point. I think there's something really to be said about you have to be a part of a team to win the game. And it's not saying that you gotta leave, you can leave your team and your team can't leave you. I think if they wanted to, they could excommunicate you.
Can you have more than 4? Could say all of Alpha say, hey, we are leaving, we are going to Delta team. We now have 7. Bio is all alone. If he doesn't find a new team by the end of the day, he's done.
I think that, I don't think you can have more than 4 because last time when we watched it, I think there was a moment where somebody was trying to get in and they basically said, like, you have a couple hours to get into a team or else. And all the teams were full. It wasn't that they didn't want them. It was just like, well, I mean, you can't fit. So I think that, if the team decides to up and leave him and say, you're not a part of this team anymore, I don't really think there's much he can do.
Right. And then if he's out and Alpha Camp is open, could people go and start Alpha Camp new, or is that out?
No, I think if he's out and Alpha Camp at that point,
I'm working all the angles on Outlast.
Yeah, we're trying to figure it out. Look, again, that's what we get in for the game early for. We're second season. We're starting to bring in all different combinations.
We're number 1 Outlast podcasters.
100%. Like, there's no way that anybody's covering this show as closely as we are. And I think we're asking all the important questions. I think that Alpha can kick him out, but I don't think he could go and start a new Alpha. I think that there can only be 4 tribes. And matter of fact, there probably could be more than 4 tribes. If Bio is to leave, he can go recruit some people and make a 5th tribe, I'm sure. It would probably be difficult because he doesn't seem that likable, but there might be other people willing to play the game with him the way that he was willing to play it.
If he's got some dead squirrels, he'd be pretty likable.
Dead squirrels and a fire, because the Charlie tribe had Charlie Camp had no business going a day and a half without fire at all. They were struggling. And so at some point you gotta take the help you can get.
Let's talk about, you brought up Charlie Camp. Let's talk about them. The Charlie Camp is, who's on Charlie?
So for Charlie, we have Eric, Brendan, Joseph, and Tina.
Okay. I like this group.
I like this group too. I like Charlie, but they got to get some fire. Like, I mean, they got it now. I think we're up to like day 6 or 7 in this show by the time we finish episode 1. But those first few days where they were struggling to get fire, I had very low hopes for them. I was like, this is bad. You have Eric, who wants to be like an alpha type. Tina, who's his sidekick. Yeah, there's Eric. But this tribe here already has some drama. You know, they're already we're starting to see that Eric and like Joseph and Brendan, they're not seeing eye to eye. And so I think there's going to be a division in this tribe or camp.
So, Joseph and Mountain Man, is that Brendan? Okay. They have a great friendship.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool to see them bond like this the first time.
They're bonding. They're getting along. They know to follow the animals to go find the water. They say that the water is 2 kilometers away.
Yeah, 2 kilometers away. And,
so is that 4 miles?
It takes them about 4 hours to find it. So yeah, but when they found it, I think they said that it would be an hour back and forth round trip. So maybe like a mile or 2.
Yeah. Okay. And they can go there and they find this little spring and they can bring back like one like coffee can of water.
Well, they had multiple cans, but
I think they had 2.
Yeah, well, when they got back, they were like, "Oh yeah, didn't we have another can with us? Isn't that crazy?" And they said, "Yeah, that's crazy, but we ain't walking no more. That was 4 hours worth of work. I'm sorry, we're good. Never mind." And Eric is not okay with this. He says, "So y'all just gonna leave the can?" And they said, "Yeah, I mean it'll be there tomorrow." He said, "Okay, but tonight can we have the can?" It's, well, you can go get the can, but I ain't going no more. So they have some conflict very early on just because of the lack of this can. I guess they can go steal one like Bio did.
Yeah, Bio has all the cans.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of cans now. I mean, he legit took 2 from their camp. They don't have any camp anymore at Alpha. Charlie has one can because they left theirs at the watering hole.
Yeah. Eric is going to he was frustrated and wasn't gonna just like bite his tongue.
He's gonna complain. He's gonna complain, but I think the thing I like about Outlast is that you don't have a lot of people who aren't very outspoken. You know, you have a few people who are saying like, I don't want to be the leader. I'm more like a sidekick, or I want to lead from like the back. But for the most part, these people gonna speak up. They're not gonna let you talk crazy to them. And so while Eric is complaining, Joseph and Brendan are both like, we don't care. You know, okay, fine. You want it? Go get it. We're not moving. Sorry. Sad that you want that, but you can't have everything you want. You're not the leader of us. You're not the boss of me. So he's in a tough spot. At least he has Tina as his backup.
Yeah. Okay. Here's Tina, another person that's here on Team Charlie. Tina's a model. She's here to show people that models can do Outlast.
Yeah, I'm excited to see her. I mean, she says she loves to forge, but she is a model, and I think within one episode, I don't think I'm too concerned about how Tina's going to do in the game. She seems to be solid. She's just aligned with Eric, and Eric's got some smoke on him right now.
Okay, let's talk about Team Bravo. Okay. Not the people from Real Housewives.
No, these are the
not
real
Phaedra.
Outdoorsmen. No, the real outdoorsmen of Texas. We got Drake and Drew from Texas.
Drake and Drew, the bros.
Yeah, the bros. They're both from Texas. They link up very quickly and say, "Hey, Texas, yeah, we did it, yes." And so they're teamed up. You have Sammy, who's also there, but then you have Emily, who's a bit of an outlier. She seems like she's more of a cerebral type, like kind of like the Emilys that we know. And so she's like, "Hey, I've studied this. I've taken outdoor trips and this, that, and the other. And I don't mind the wilderness part of this, but navigating these 2 knuckleheads, these bros, that might be a little difficult for Emily."
Yeah, she said she's not really loving hanging out with these bros.
Look, I've been a bro sometimes. I understand. We're an acquired taste when it happens. I get it. But yeah, I like Emily a lot. I'm hoping that she does well in the game. I think it's going to be tough because again, there's some big personalities on her tribe or camp. Keep saying tribe. Anyway, there's a big personality on her team. And and I think that for me, watching her navigate that makes it very interesting because she uses her knowledge and skills, that she's learned, and she talks about even when they're making their shelter, what they should do. But it does seem like they're maybe talking over her a bit, like she's throwing out ideas and they're not all being picked up.
Yeah. Her superpower is that she can identify regional plants.
That was a good little name drop that she did there. When they asked her, like, Emily, why should we pick you? She says, I can identify the plants in the area. And I think that makes her sound very important to a team like this, is because you're about to be out in the wilderness. You want to know what you can eat, what you can't eat. And so not knowing a bunch of plants is one thing, but knowing about these specific plants, I think that makes her a very valuable part of the team.
Okay. There's one other team that's out there. And that is Team Delta.
Team
Delta. And this is my guy, Julio.
You like Julio?
Yeah.
So I do like Julio. But Delta is obviously the love tribe here, the love camp. They're like, all right, we don't have any real leaders here. We're a group. We're a family. It's a committee. And
it's not working.
It's not. I don't think it worked last time, though. I think that each time, I think you need a leader. I think you need somebody to step up and say, I'm in charge. And the one person who does want to step up and that they're in charge, it's Brianna. It's Bri. She was in the military, and she's like, hey.
I heard she's a bow hunter.
Yeah, well, she said that. She likes structure, and she likes to bow hunt. But although she used bow hunting as one of her biggest selling points, we don't see a lot of successful bow hunting from Bri. I'm kind of a big Bri fan because I think there's something hilarious about a character who's like, no, you all are all bad at this. I'm good at this. And then actually not producing. That's kind of funny.
Yeah. She is talking about how I am a bow hunter, but doesn't know about, hey, does anybody know how to put the bow together? Does anybody know how to string the bow? Where does this thing go? Does that piece go over there?
Yeah. Eventually, they're stringing the bow, and Bri is sitting down on the floor like, man, that's crazy. It's crazy that y'all can do that stuff. It's so cool. I wish I could do that. Like, didn't you say you were a bow hunter? We assumed that all aspects of bow hunting came into play, including loading the bow, stringing the bow. But she thinks she could be the leader. And I think there are other people are picking up on it. Also on her team, Megan says, I see that she wants to be a leader. I'm just not quite sure if that is the role for her on this camp.
Yeah. Julio said, like, look, I'm not a bow hunter, but I'm also didn't advertise that I'm a bow hunter.
She said, I'm a bow hunter.
Me.
Thus, that's why she picked him. I mean, that's why he picked her. So it made total sense for everybody to now look at her and say, well, here's your bow. Go do your thing. And she doesn't seem like she was able to. And it's not great. It's not great because they got to eat. They got to eat. And we see that they will turn to other ways of finding food. A lot of foraging going on, eating random items out of the water and stuff that might not be the healthiest. So it would be great if somebody was able to use the bow to go get them some meat.
Yeah. Did not happen in episode number 1. Julio's tribe did get the start of the shelter going.
Yeah, the shelter conversations were very fun to me because that's the one thing that, we watch Survivor all the time and we see people come in and like, I don't know how to build a shelter. These people all had a plan, we saw people like talk about lean-tos and teepees and whatever they ended up picking. And so they all are trying to make this happen. So you can tell this is a different skill level than the, random people who got off the couch that we're used to watching.
Yeah. Chappell, how would you fare on Outlast?
Not great.
How many days could you do?
So my superpower is that I'm hard to get rid of. It takes a lot to make me quit. If I've decided I want to do something, I can be very, very stubborn. And so if I want to do it, I'm going to be in there come hell or high water. Now, would I be very helpful? I think is the question. And I'm like the guy who, if you tell me to grab something, I picked it up. If you tell me to lift it, take it over there, I did it. I will run. I'm the runner all the time. Tell me you need something. Okay, cool. We're working on the fire. I'm a team player. But if you're like, Chappell, what do you bring to the table? I'm like, enthusiasm? unbridled energy, upbeat disposition. Like I think for me, I'm not going to be on anybody's team too long because eventually they're going to pass me the bow and I'm just be looking at them like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, but you need a vibes guy there on these Outlast teams.
I think so. I think, like, again, I don't think anybody would want to get rid of me until they realize that I'm essentially just another person, right? Like, I'm not, like, I don't have a specialty at all,
Boy, Chappell's eating a lot.
Oh, and I'm definitely going to eat a lot. That's another thing. It's like, when I
Chappell's
find the food source...
getting up for another helping of the squirrel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. I'm chasing the squirrel down every time because I can't eat the other stuff. They were eating shellfish and sea slugs out the water. I can't eat that. I have an allergy.
I thought somebody was going down from that.
I don't know if they're not. They point out that there are toxins in the water that could
be foreshadowing.
It could be foreshadowing. I could definitely see that happening. It would take an act of God to get me to eat something out of that water that was not named fish.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
what if it was boiled?
I need to see it. I need to see the fish. And I need to, and that's the one thing I can do. I like to fish. I don't, when I was growing up, I used to fish all the time. I too am a Texan. So I spent a lot of time outside at different points in my life. I know how to fish. And I'm pretty good with a knife as well. But that's about it, And so when it gets cold, I think that's where you got to look for me and be like, all right, where's Chappell? Because he's about to dip.
Well, it does get cold. We saw some nights where, and again, we don't know what time of year it is. I feel like that as the season went along last year, that it got colder. Like, it's like they started in the summer, and then as the show went on, it was getting into like the fall.
Yeah. It was filmed in the fall of 2021. And then released, obviously,
the first one was.
Yeah, the first one was. And so I'm assuming this was filmed around the same time because they're going to want to give them enough time where it's warm enough where they can function and get camps and stuff set up. And then, let the cold set in, to really separate the true outdoorsmen from, the pretenders.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's wild that Jason Bateman is involved with this show?
Every time you say that, I always like, what? Because when I watched the first episode this time, it goes off, and the first thing you see in the credits is Jason Bateman. Why is he here? What did he do to do? How have we not managed to get an interview with Jason Bateman about this show? I feel like he's dying
the
to talk about it.
executive producer.
He's got to be dying to talk about this. Like, I just refuse to believe that Jason Bateman is out here saying, I made this Outlast show. People seem to like it. People don't like it. But I'm not going to do any interviews about it. Let's get our people to get Jason Bateman. Nicole would love that.
She would. Chappell, that Outlast is doing great so far. When I looked this morning, it was number 4 in TV and film or TV shows on Netflix. Yeah, and that's where it is now. Number 4.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I think that from what we saw last time, it got a lot of positive feedback.
Yeah, but I don't remember if it hit number 1 in the I'm not sure if it was a huge hit like that. I know people were talking about it like this show is cracked, but I'm not sure necessarily if people were watching it en masse.
If I had to guess, I'd say it was probably in the Netflix top 10. Mostly because people were talking about it, and Netflix has a billion reality shows, and I never see people talking about a ton of them. I think for it to have been in the conversation that much, something must have highlighted it and got it on people's radar. Because anybody else, like we watch a ton of reality shows, but if you show me at glance like Outlast, I would think of it like as a Bear, what's his name, Grylls, like one of those like survival type shows, and those really don't speak to me. I like shows that are more competition based. And so this definitely got my attention in a way that a lot of Netflix shows I just kind of scroll past. So I have to imagine that Netflix did at least a decent job making sure that people can find it.
Mm-hmm. Chappell, what else from the premiere of Outlast caught your eye?
Well, obviously the people's personalities are what are really going to shine through. Like the standout characters are what are going to make the show because they're all in the wilderness doing the same thing. But I really like seeing, kind of how the egos and stuff are coming into play right now. We talk about Bio a little bit earlier, but I mean, Bio will also go out and bow hunt for the squirrel and be able to accomplish something that his own teammate who claims himself to be a bow hunter and Zach is not able to do. And so Bio very early on is trying to establish that not only is he a little going well, I don't want to call him a cheater, but he's going outside the lines of what everybody else is doing. He's also very skilled in making sure that he can provide for himself. And I think that Zach might be hating a little bit. He's like, yeah, anybody can get lucky. I said, I don't think I could get lucky and shoot a squirrel with a bow and arrow.
No,
like,
definitely
I don't think
not.
that's
Unless you had like a million arrows that were being shot all at once.
Yeah, they have 8. They have 8 arrows apiece. And so, for 8 arrows per camp. So, yeah, he goes out there with 8 arrows and comes back with a squirrel. I think that Bio is setting himself to be a really big character this season.
All right. And then for these people in this season, do you feel like that we will reach the heights of Outlast season 1? What's your prediction?
It would be very hard to reach the heights of Outlast season 1 because I remember, I'm old enough to remember a time where when we had Jill on, who was one of our more cutthroat players last season. I remember the comments. People were saying, we're not listening to this because Jill is there. Then we had, I think Javier was on Reddit, like doing AMAs about it. There was scandal involved. I think there was accusations about burner accounts and prank phone calls. Like, it got real. Where I think this is more like, all right, we know the game. We know what it could be. Well, let's reel it in a little bit. But I really feel like last year they had the golden opportunity to paint Jill as like the baddest villain who's ever lived on reality TV. And they did a really good job of making people feel that way about her. It's going to be tough to replicate that.
My sense is I feel like that this season probably does not get as crazy as season 1. And my only reason for saying that, because the episode 1 was crazier than episode 1 of season 1, is that I felt like that the Outlast, and when they were showing clips of the whole season, and Jenny Autumn's not here to break down like the super tease.
She would have seen it all.
I felt like that the super tease seemed a little underwhelming. Like I didn't feel like that there was anything that was, oh my God, these people are so out of pocket. I can't believe that's going to happen on this show. So I felt like it was a little bit sort of like, okay, there's maybe some yelling. I feel like we saw the stealing of the water that we saw at the end of this episode. But I wonder if that it's not going to get to the high highs of season 1.
Yeah, that season 1 super tease was amazing, right? Because it shows each of them kind of like in like flashing around, but then you see like Jill standing across the water from I think Javier's crew. It's like, you can stay over there if you want to and die. I don't care. And then she's like, we could burn the camp down. Like Jill had so many sound bites that just really led you to believe like it's about to get real. And so this time around, I don't think we really saw a lot of that. Nobody's threatening to set anybody's camp on fire to my knowledge, but maybe, just maybe, with people like Bio coming out so early and setting the tone by stealing these cans, other people are going to match that energy, Also, there's a little bit to say about the way people treat women villains on shows anyway. Like Jill did it. So, oh my God, it was the end of the world. This woman, she's awful. But Bio does it. And we're like, he's so grizzled. He's so, he's a man of the wilderness. He's not going to take no guff. Like, I don't know. I think there's guff to be passed around for everybody this season.
Yeah. So we'll see what they end up doing here on this second time out for Outlast. 5 episodes still to go in season number 2. I can't wait to get back into them. And then next week, we'll get back together and we will talk about episodes 7 and 8 all in one shot.
Yeah, I'm ready for next week anyway, because season 2... episode 2, I'm sure people are going to start to break. And that's what really makes the show fun, I think, is that, like, these people are out here trying to outlast on their own will. There's not like levels that you read, like they're raising race. You got to get to checkpoints. You got to get to tribal council. There's days just come and go. And so one day somebody's going to quit. And I think once one person goes, the dominoes will start to fall, right? And we're going to start seeing the slow avalanche of just people who just thought they could hack it and couldn't. It's going to get cold. They're going to get hungrier. And people's attitudes are going to start to get in the way. And so I'm so ready to talk about the rest of the season. I'm actually probably going to watch a lot of it this weekend just to prep, because I know that it's probably going to be really good. I have high hopes for this show.
Okay. Chappell, do you have winner pick/picks?
It's tough. It's tough because so many people can win. You know, like the teams can be up to 4 people. A 4-person team could definitely win the game. I really like Joseph and Brendan. I think as a pair, they were very fun.
That's a good pick.
Yeah, I think they were very fun. I already said that I like Emily, but there are a couple people who didn't get a lot of screen time, so I'm interested to see what they do.
Yeah. There's a guy named Sammy. I think Sammy was part of the camp that got their stuff stolen.
He exists. Sammy was there. Yeah, he was at the Bravo camp with Drew, Drake, and Emily. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm a Julio guy. I don't think Julio's gonna make it.
He seems like an easy, like person to be the fall guy, you know. Because right now he's not the leader, but I think he's like acting as though he's the leader. Like he's like, oh, we're all a committee, but really, I'm in charge. So I think with Bree kind of like anti Julio, I think there might get a little messy for Julio. I don't see him taking it.
Okay. So Emily is somebody that's I would like to see go far.
I think she's gonna be a personality. I think that's what we're looking for. Again, I'm sure all these people can survive in the wilderness if you wanted them. Like if they had the supplies, they could do it. What do you think about Tanya? She was our last pick.
Oh yeah, I feel like that Tanya has like they want her to be the new Jill, but I don't know if it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to duplicate that, but just give me Queen.
Sure.
Yeah, I love Tanya, and I think that even if she's not the new Jill, her being like a woman of a certain age, but also a smaller woman in stature, it'll be fun to see her stick it out when the odds are seemingly against her.
Yep. Okay. All right. So that's what we're doing next time on Outlast. Okay. Chappell. Last time out, we covered Kobayashi, Unfinished Beef. Had a fun time talking about Kobayashi and Joey Chestnut. That's up on our Nothing But Netflix podcast feed. What's coming up for you?
Rob, you would not believe how many people I've told about that food eating contest. It was so new to me that I just was like, I gotta tell people all about it. And so people were seeming interested. I think that I was like, you gotta check out the podcast. I was like, but you actually really need to watch it. Because I think for me, I'd never watched a food eating contest before. I didn't know it was so much to do. I didn't know they were going to have multiple rounds of different exhibitions and record breaking. I would like Netflix to bring that back. So if you haven't checked that out, you ain't got to watch the actual show, but definitely check out the podcast if you skipped last week's episode because it was really good.
Okay. And then for you Survivor fans out there, we've got 9 days of Survivor preseason coverage coming your way. Not like Outlast where we just start the show and like, who are these people? What's going on? No, you could hear a full interview with each of these 18 castaways from Survivor. You can find that all in our Survivor feed. Go to robisawebsite.com/subscribe. All right. Thank you so much for joining us here for Nothing But Netflix. Can't wait to get back into more Outlast with you coming up next week. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.